In the dojo, during class, yes, absolutely 100% shut up and train. Outside the dojo, on things like Facebook, which are discussion forums, shut up and train has no place, all right? You're not my instructor. One, shut up. So there's bad stuff about that too. I think BJJ does a good job of on the mat, we're training, off the mat, we're discussing. And I think karate needs to get into that mindset too. Shut up and train only exists in the dojo.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Whistlekick Martial Arts Radio. I'm Jeremy Lesniak, joined by Matt Sheridan. Thanks for being here, Matt. Appreciate you and your time. We're going to talk. Sometimes I say this, but it doesn't happen often. I think today is going to be interesting. I can just tell from the pre-chat that we had. This is going to be interesting. So I'm looking forward to it. For all of you out there, thanks for being here, whether it's your first time or maybe your 500th, or we've got people out there who've watched and listened to every episode. Maybe it's your 1,000th and something episode. Cool. Thanks for being here. We've been able to do the things that we do because of all of you, but we've also been able to do the things that we do because of some of our sponsors. And today's episode is sponsored by Kataro. If you've been around, you know that Kataro has helped us out a lot. Kataa, double A in the middle, ro.com. Kataro makes the best martial arts belts. They do some other cool stuff. All of it handmade in the USA. They've got wholesale. You can, they've got, I'm looking at my notes here. They've got a brand new pagoda style desktop belt holder, some really cool stuff. Check them out. And thank you to Kataro for their support. And thank you to Matt for being here. Matt, welcome to Martial Arts Radio.
Hello. When Andrew asked to interview me, I was kind of like hesitant, like, why? I'm a nobody from the middle of nowhere. I'm like the smallest.
But that's kind of our brand. That's me. I'm a nobody in the middle of nowhere. I can't even see houses out it. All I see is trees out that window.
Yeah, right. Like I joke, I'm a hermit, literally nowhere. In the woods. So you guys want to know a little bit about my background, how I got started, stuff like that?
We can start there. We can start wherever you want to start.
We just have a time limit.
Well, yeah. We can't go forever. There's another episode recording at some point because we do 4 in a day because efficiency, right?
Mm-hmm.
But let's start here. Almost everybody has an idea of martial arts before they start doing martial arts. And it's usually from something in pop culture, right? TV, movies, comic books, video games. What was your source for what martial arts was before you started training?
So I had 2. Number 1, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a lot of people my age, And number 2, I loved the idea of Shaolin monks and being a monk and living out in the wilderness and, doing not just the martial arts stuff, but also meditation and that sort of thing. The monastic lifestyle. I thought that was so neat when I was young, which is funny because I never got into Kung Fu. I've never gone down the Shaolin road. I never, my path never took me in any of those directions. And even things like meditation, I've tried it. It doesn't work on me. My brain just isn't wired like that. But yeah, my mom and dad took us to like a strip mall, and at one end was a gymnastics studio.
I'm glad you said strip mall. I was worried.
Oh, strip mall, yes. Yeah, I was 6 years old going to the club. No, strip mall. So one end was a gymnastics studio. The other end had a Taekwondo school. They're like, pick one. And it's like, which will help me on my way to Ninja Turtle greatness?
Obvious.
Right, because you got to be able to do those flips and then gymnastics and, as well as physically fight the Foot Clan and the evils of the world.
Kind of a tough decision.
I know, right?
You said, did you have siblings?
Yes, so I have had an older brother. and an older sister, a twin sister. So me and my brother signed up for the Taekwondo. My sister signed up for the gymnastics. And it boiled down to, as a little kid, I did not want to wear a leotard.
Mm.
You know, that's just, even today, I don't want to wear a leotard.
Would not be my first choice of attire.
Right. Which is funny now because training in rash guards is becoming so popular, through no-gi jujitsu and stuff like that. So it's like, I've seen plenty of men practically wearing leotards.
Yeah.
Or even wrestling. I did wrestling in high school, and you wear the onesie, so it's just funny how things go full circle like that sometimes.
Okay. So 6 years old, Taekwondo, you're going to be a Ninja Turtle.
Mm-hmm.
And what do you remember much of those early days? And no.
No. So one of the only memories I have of that first school I went to was that they required us to wear a cup. And we had one class where I really, really had to pee and practically peed my pants because getting the belt off and getting the top off and then struggling with the pants and underwear and
it's
the
a lot.
cup is...
I still don't
Yeah.
like wearing a cup.
Right. Oh, me neither. I mean, I will if I know we're doing some dirty sparring, but other than that, no. So yeah, I have no memories of that first school other than what it looked like and whatever. My family moved when I was 7. I'm not going to tell people where I live. We'll probably talk about that, why I'm like that later. But trained from the time I was like 6 until I was 10. That's when the big recession of the 90s, late 90s hit, and mom and dad's like, we can't afford to send you guys to karate no more. So when I was 10, I was forced to quit. The 4-letter word, all the quitters. I hate that stuff. So I begged and begged and begged to go back because my middle school was close enough to the karate school that I could walk. And I'm like, you guys don't have to worry about taking me to karate. I can just walk there after school. It's a safe walk. You literally walk past the police station, walk past the courthouse, walk past the firehouse.
It sounds like a pretty safe
it's
area.
It's a safe area. It's a safe route. And they're like, no, we just can't afford it. And I honestly don't think it was about the money. What happened around that time was my brother tested for a belt, and my sister and I weren't allowed to. And I think that chuffed my parents, Well, they're not improving, they're not showing improvement, blah, blah, blah. So why are we going to keep paying for this when they're not taking it serious?
Sure.
Which is completely understandable. I mean, I've had students where I'm like, hey, obviously your kid doesn't want to be here. Obviously they're distracting class because they would rather chat than kick and do forms. So maybe take them out, wait a couple years. If they ask to come back and they want it, then bring them back and it'll be okay. So my 15th birthday present was karate tuition. That year I signed up for football because I wanted to work out. And I was the only person on the football team who was 4th string because I didn't want to play football. I was only there to work out.
And you were open about that.
Oh, very much so. I was there for physical training, for weightlifting, for running, for cardiovascular.
That's a pretty mature perspective for a 15-year-old.
Well, like when I was really little, I was super skinny. I had a 6-pack up until I was like 11.
Okay.
And then I got into video games. I stopped playing outside and I got chunky. I was the chubby redheaded kid with glasses, you know? And when I got to high school, I was like, I'm kind of tired of being that cliche, the chubby redheaded kid with glasses. So I joined football, I worked out, and after the football season was over, mom and dad agreed to let me go back to karate because I showed that I was dedicated, blah, 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 you know? And I've been doing it ever since. And my early karate experience was very positive. It was like going to the dojo. Well, I'm using Japanese terms because that's what I train in now, but the style I trained in was Korean. Okay. I don't hide that. My black belt certificates say Taekwondo on them.
Okay.
Because
So
politics.
you that second school that you went to from like 7 to 10, that was
Mhm.
a Taekwondo school?
Technically.
Okay.
So I'm not sure if you are familiar with the history of Taekwondo
I am.
outside of the BS,
I am.
but karate was brought to Korea. The Koreans learned a combination of Shotokan, Shudokan, and Shito-ryu. And then years later, hostility between Japan and Korea. They wanted to Koreify everything. So they created their new forms. The term Taekwondo was coined in 1955. The founder of my old style, his ranks up to like 5th or 6th dan were all Kong Sudo karate. He learned the Pinan kata, the Naihanchi, Basai, Kusanku. He learned all the karate forms, and he was part of that movement from Tang Sudo, Kong Sudo, into Tei Sudo, into Taekwondo. So the style I trained in had like 10 karate kata.
Interesting.
And then they had the Taekwondo forms, like we did the Pogway forms, which are the older Taekwondo forms. We did like choreo. I learned Pyongan, Sipjin. Eventually in college, I learned Taebake and Kungong, which my style didn't do. So we had a combination of karate forms, Taekwondo forms, and then our lineage is also through Yun Byung-in, who trained in China before going to Japan and Korea. So we also had a few Chinese forms. So that style had like 31 forms.
That's a lot of forms, but that's pretty cool that they were so different.
Right. And it's hard to explain that to people nowadays because there's so much bias, Oh, Taekwondo's not karate and anything Korean's not karate. And it's like, well, Tang Sudo's straight up old school Shotokan, you know? Kong Sudo was straight up old school Shudokan from Kanken Toyama. So if you look at lineage, you have Gichin Funakoshi, Kanken Toyama, and then you have a whole slew of Koreans that trained under them. Our lineage is through Yun Byung-in, Yun Byung-gwe, who's his cousin. Those two trained under Kanken Toyama. And then Chun Sung-sup, who trained under Gichin Funakoshi. So those were the founders of the what would eventually become the Jido Kwan, the Kangduk Kwan, and the Chengmu Kwan. And Grandmaster Han trained in the Kangduk Kwan and the Jido Kwan. Okay, so the majority of what we did was karate, and then implemented some Taekwondo, implemented some Chinese arts. And I got all the way up to 4th dan, and I didn't want to test for 4th dan. So this is where my story's kind of odd in that when I was a 3rd degree black belt, that's when the bad stuff started to happen.
No,
2nd, 3rd degree black belt.
I just want to be clear. This is the same school, the school you were at for a period of time, stepped away and stepped back at 15.
Yeah.
Okay, and you were there from 15 through this time you're talking about.
Right. Well, it was the same association.
Okay.
So I started under Sherry Jordan, who's now passed away.
Mhm.
And then when I came back at 15, Sherry Jordan and her son Seth Jordan were running that school.
Okay.
So I trained under them until I left for college around 20.
Mhm.
And then I trained under two of their students in the town where I went to college.
Oh, okay.
Right? So I stayed in the same association, and I was becoming a high rank. And this is when the internet forums started to lift off. You had Bushido, you had the karate forum, you'd have stuff like that. And I would get on these forums, and there'd be people talking about my style that had no clue. No clue. They just believed the myths. And they would pass on the myth as if it was the facts. And I'm like, that's not how it works. That's not what actually happened. Like, no. So very early on, when I was still in high school and college, I was doing myth busting for the style I trained in. Like, people like, oh, he was a high rank in this, this, and this. I'm like, no, he wasn't. No, he wasn't. So Grandmaster Han, his highest official rank in Taekwondo was through the Jido Kwan, and it was an 8th Dan.
Mm-hmm.
He was awarded a 9th Dan like 15 years later by his students, which is not something I agree with.
One of those.
Well, I don't think it was him. I think it was the students. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because in Asian culture, it's very impolite to deny a gift.
Mm-hmm.
So these are his students gifting him a 9th Dan.
But I guess the question that some would ask is, what rank were they?
Not very high. So it was awarded by the Black Belt Council, which included 1 5th Dan, 3 4th Dans, and a couple 3rd Dans. Mm-hmm. And they're awarding him a 9th Dan.
Yep.
Which happens quite often nowadays.
It sure does.
It's becoming more and more common. I don't agree with it.
I don't either.
So,
I should say I don't agree with it in most cases.
In most cases, right?
There are some odd exceptions that we don't have to belabor. But.
Right. And like, he'd been an 8th Dan for, like I said, 15, 16 years. So did he put in the time? Yeah. Did he help spread the style? Yeah. Like, was he doing stuff for the martial arts community? Absolutely. Has very many people heard of him? Probably not, Oh, bless you. So when I was still a 2nd Dan, I started training in Shorin-ryu. Mm-hmm. And I've been training in Shorin-ryu since 2009. Okay. So what? That's going on 17 years now?
Yeah.
So, sorry, I have to organize my thoughts. Yeah, so I started training in Shorin-ryu. Mm-hmm. I was noticing some very negative things in Yanhwa-ryu, the Taekwondo school. And since I was ranking up, I outranked a lot of people, and I knew more of the history than a lot of people because I trained as a kid. I was there in the 90s. So when this 6th Dan talks about the past, I was there when he was a blue belt. Like, I'm not a 6th Dan by no means, but I was there, and I was a smart kid, and I kept an eye on things. Like you've said, I had a relatively mature outlook on certain things. So I started to lose my faith in the rank system and the belt system.
Why?
Because, like, when I was going up through the ranks as a teenager, we had what I would call belt waggers. They would wag their belt in your face. Well, you're a yellow belt and I'm a blue belt. Therefore, shut up and train. You're not my instructor. you don't know anything. You're a blue belt. Shut up. Like, and when I got on the forums, that was the kind of people that were defending the style and spreading the myths. They were blue belts and red belts, which is essentially brown belt. And it's like, you don't actually know anything. You don't know anything. You've never done the research. You've never called and talked to the old masters. Like, what are you even talking about? You know, they're the kind of people that still spread the 3,000-year history of Taekwondo. It's like, no, that's not how it worked. And I'm an academic. I'm a nerd. I do my own research, you know? So one of the first things I noticed, like when I took my instructor's course as a brown belt, and I finally got a certified instructor when I was a black belt, and they gave me an instructor's booklet. And in the booklet was information on where did our forms come from. You know, these are Okinawan forms, these are mainland Japanese forms, these are Korean forms, these are Chinese forms. Like, they provided that information to instructors. Does that blue belt have that information? No.
I guess not.
No. And included in that was like time requirements for rank. So I got online and I researched time requirements for rank, and I noticed that our time requirements were lower than most people. They were promoting people relatively quickly. And I know why. It's because when Grandmaster Han was teaching in Korea, he taught the military. And those military guys trained 4, 5, 6 hours a day. They were in excellent physical condition, and they also had a mentality for combat. You know? And these are things that civilians don't do, you know. Little Bobby and Susie, who only train 1 or 2 days a week, well, if the minimum's testing every 3 months and you're only training 2 days a week, you shouldn't be testing at the minimum. You should be waiting longer. And that kind of thing bugged me because I went through the ranks relatively quickly, but I trained 6 days a week. I trained 2 hours a day, Monday through Friday, and then there was a Saturday class, and I would train on Saturday. And I was relatively lucky that our school was like that, you know? Because most, like, the school I train at now, it's once a week. It's like 2 hours on Saturday, you know? And so when you start to compare the differences and you do your own research, I'm someone who would much rather hold higher standards rather than lower standards. So, like, when I got my black belt, it's a probationary black belt. In Korean, they call it a poom. In Japanese, it's usually called a shodan ho, probationary, whatever. So, like, my certificate says bodan on it, which is probationary dan, right? So we were supposed to stay that rank for 1 year. And one day my instructor comes up to me and he says, Matt, are you ready to test? And anybody would say, what? Yeah, I'm ready to test. My answer was, no, sir. The time requirement is 1 year. It's only been 6 months. I would like to wait 1 year. And what sort of martial artist? That's disrespectful. I can't believe you would tell your instructor no, blah, blah. Grow up. Grow up. You know what the standards are. You know what your time requirements are. And that's part of integrity, is holding yourself to the standards, the rules, whatever.
Sure.
So that person that would, yes, sir, yes, sir. That's not integrity. That's not honorable. That's not anything like that. So when my instructor asked me after 6 months if I'm ready to test, I told him no. No, sir. And I think that kind of defines how I am. I am a non-conforming traditionalist. I follow traditions, I follow standards, but they're not going to be the same as Billy Joe's Taekwondo, you know. So I went with what you might be familiar with and what many of your listeners are probably familiar with. Your first dan for at least a year. Your second dan for at least 2 years. Your third dan for at least 3 years. I didn't wait 4 years before testing for fourth dan because of negative things in my association. There was a lot of politics and a lot of people trying to boss other people around. Well, I'm a fourth dan and you're a third dan, so you have to do what I say. And I'd sit there and go, you're not part of my chain of command. The only person who has a right to tell me what to do is my instructor, who's a fifth dan. So you little fourth dan, go sit in your corner and shut up and train. Right? And it just got so bad that we were having testing and I just wrote a check for $540 and handed it to Grandmaster Han and tested that day with no preparation because I was so tired of all the politics and the bickering and the rank jockeying and all that stuff. You know, like some of these fourth dans that were trying to boss me around were yellow belts when I was a first degree black belt. And they didn't hold themselves to any sort of rank standard. They would promote early and then promote early again and promote early again. So they were a fourth dan, but they didn't have their time. They didn't have the experience. They didn't have the maturity. And if the only thing that would prevent them from bossing me around is one more piece of tape on my belt, that's worth $540 to me. Here's $500. Leave me alone.
And did that work?
Yeah.
Okay.
It did. It did until they ranked up again, and now they're fifth
because they're
dan.
promoting early and you're not.
Exactly.
So chasing that's not going to work out.
And then when they get to fifth dan, that style used a title. So they would use these titles to boss people around too. Well, I'm a master, and I'm this. So at this point in my life, I lost all respect for the rank system. I lost all respect for titles. I don't care what you want to be called. And I'm well known nowadays for my research on the history of belts, right? And the facts, not the legend. Screw the legend. We don't need legends up in here. We're adults. Legends are for children. If you're still believing these legends, aka lies, and you're an adult, you have a lot of maturing to do. And sadly, we have people that are 7th, 8th, 9th degree black belt still following these legends, thinking they're true.
Now, for everyone's benefit, I guess mine included, when you talk about legends, can you just give a little bit of a glimpse as to what you mean?
The dirty belt myth, right? Everybody gets a white belt, and through years of hard work and dedication, it gets stained. You have yellow stains for sweat, and green stains for grass stains, and red stains for blood stains, and brown stains from dirt stains. And as you train, your belt becomes dirtier and dirtier, and eventually gets closer to black, which is 100% baloney.
Yeah, it would never work.
The black belt. Right. The black belt was introduced before the white belt.
I thought Kano released both at the same time. No?
Almost.
Okay.
Almost the same time.
Okay.
So there was the competition in 1886 in October. And when they won, they got a contract with the Tokyo police. So the Tokyo police were going to the Kodokan to learn judo. And the school itself went from like 27 students to over 130 students. So no one knew who the instructor was. Well, they knew kind of who the instructor was, but they didn't know who to ask for help. So Jigoro Kano awarded 2 black belts, Tomita Tsunejiro, Seguro Shiro. And Seguro Shiro is really the only reason they won that competition anyways. He won like 6 matches or something. But so he awarded these black belts, and then students complained about it. Well, they get belts. Why don't we get belts? I want a belt. So he awarded white belt later on that same year.
You know what I always
So
thought
it's close.
as an aside there? I've done a little bit of judo. I can't imagine getting thrown around without a belt. It's such an important leverage point.
Yes.
And the little ties on the judo gi, I can't imagine that they wouldn't get torn apart.
The funny part about the uniform is when the belts were introduced, there was no uniform. There wasn't one. A lot of these guys just trained in their underwear, or they would just wear a heavy coat or something. So the belts were introduced in 1886. The uniform didn't come around until 1907-ish.
Really? Okay. So
we have a 20
interesting.
Right. So and then again, this comes back to the legends, you know. So we have a 20-year gap between when belts were introduced and when uniforms were introduced. So when people think the uniform's older, no, it's not. When they think white belt's older, no, it's not. So the uniform there was a meeting in 1906, and they were trying to discuss jiu-jitsu competitions. All right. And they agreed that everybody needs to have an equal opportunity for competition. So the solution was, if this guy's training in just a fundoshi and he competes in just a fundoshi, and this guy's competing in hakama and kimono, that's not a fair fight.
Right.
So to make it fair, they introduced a competition uniform, which was a standard jacket, standard pants with standard lengths. So, like, you know, in judo, they're very strict about you have to have less than 3 inches from the wrist and blah, blah, blah. And that's why this was originally a competition uniform. So the whole karate gi came from judo. This training uniform was originally just a competition uniform. And if you're going to compete in the uniform, you might as well train in the uniform so you know how to use the uniform to your advantage.
Makes sense.
Right. So, and originally it wasn't white either. This is another one. Oh, we wear white for purity, blah, blah, blah. No.
It's probably like a brown, right?
No, well, no, it was unbleached cotton.
Okay, that's kind of what I was thinking. Yeah, like a potato sack
so
brown.
that
like
yellowish
that kind of,
cotton color.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So what happened was Jigoro Kano was teaching all these schoolboys and all these college-age men, and they weren't washing their uniform. So they were getting wrestling transmitted infections, ringworm, all that. So he started requiring them to bleach the uniform just so it's clean. So the white uniform for purity is simply because nasty college boys weren't watching their gi between practice.
I'm going to guess that we've got at least a few BJJ instructors out there that are nodding along so hard to what you're saying, they're hurting themselves.
Oh, yeah. Clean your mats. Wash your belt. Can I get an amen? Wash your belt. And, that's another myth. The dirty belt myth, right? In Japan, when clothing gets soiled, it gets washed. And that includes silk belts. That includes cotton belts. It is standard Japanese practice to wash your belt. So even the don't wash a belt myth, we know where that comes from too. It comes from Okinawa. So after World War II, they redesigned the belts. Mm-hmm. It used to be just a kakuobi that was folded in half and stitched, right? So it was 4 layers of thick cloth. when World War II hit and there was less fabric because we're making uniforms, military uniforms rather than whatever, they had to find a cheaper way to produce the belts. And that's when that inner core got introduced. So the belt went from being one like 4-inch piece of fabric folded over, well, technically 3.75 inches folded over, right, to being just a sheath with an inner core. And when you wash that inner core and you're in a humid place like Okinawa, it mildews. So you only wash it sparingly because otherwise it's going to mildew. Right? And that's where the never wash your belt comes from.
I've never heard that one before, but that I can see that.
Yeah. So one thing that happens, and you're probably familiar with this word, is cognitive dissonance.
Sure am. Great word. Great term.
So I'm in my early 20s, myth-busting things, proving the old masters incorrect. And I was given so much hate. Like, I've received, this is where we're digging down into the dark pit, right?
Sure.
I've received over 100 death threats from the martial arts community.
That's a lot of death threats. I think I've only got
I have
3.
3?
Yeah.
Amateur.
Clearly.
What? Are you even out there on the internet? What are you doing?
Am I even a martial artist on the internet if I've only been
Are you even a karateka if you've only
Clearly
gotten 3
not.
death threats? So I'm going to try not to drop names. We talked about this, but
your choice.
There is the head of a research society, and it was brought to his attention that his people were sending me death threats and that I have no respect for this individual. And he's a 10th degree black belt, world renowned, published so many books.
I know who you're talking about, don't I?
Oh, you know.
Okay.
I'm sure.
Okay.
Yes. So when it was brought to his attention, I'm in the hospital being treated for suicidal depression. And I'm in the hospital for 5 days. And him and his goons spend 6 days trying to drag my name through the mud. Now, reminder, libel is a crime. It's a federal offense. You can go to jail. Slander is a crime. It's a federal offense. You can go to jail. Cyberbullying is a crime. It's a federal offense. You can go to jail. And these guys, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th degree black belts, are trying to draw this little fish's name through the mud because it was brought to their attention that they were sending me death threats while I'm in the hospital being treated for suicidal depression. And in that conversation, Jeremy, is a death threat. Don't you worry, Hanshi. If Matt ever shows up in the Philippines, we'll make sure he disappears. No autopsy. And the president, the head of this research society, thought it was hilarious. He laughed and encouraged it, while denying that his people had ever sent me a death threat.
Which I'm sure you had screenshotted.
Oh, yeah. I have screenshots of the entire conversation. 150 comments.
Wow.
In those comments are several of my abusers who are part of the reason I have PTSD and suicidal depression. Now, I used to be a school teacher. I taught middle school math and science. You know what you're not allowed to teach with PTSD? I lost my career simply because these men were so offended that I proved them wrong. I work a factory job now. I run a machine. I can't even be a school teacher anymore because I have PTSD and suicidal depression. And I'm supposed to respect these people. Respect the rank. respect the belt. No, 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 no. I have no respect for anyone. So when you guys asked me to interview, one of your questions is like what titles to use, right? So I'd already mentioned I never got to fifth dan because, well, I don't know if I mentioned it. So when I was a third dan, there was people wanting to do a skip promotion. So the Kukiwan allows you to skip promotions, and you can skip from third dan to fifth dan. And if I skipped to fifth dan, I would be made a. Oh, I know, I'm right there with you. I would be made a sabam nim, which is a master, which translates to Japanese as shihan. So as a third dan, at the age of 25, people wanted to make me a master. And instead, I tested for my 4th degree black belt so people would leave me alone. And as a 4th degree black belt, years later, I'm 29 and people want to promote me to 5th dan and make me a master. And I told them no. I'm under the age of 30. By the standards I'm following, that I'm enforcing to myself, I cannot be a 5th dan until I'm 30. And they're like, "Oh, Matt, we're gonna get you certificates, and we're going to send you a new belt, one of these fancy white and red belts." They called it a candy cane belt. They didn't even know the official name for the belt. Like, I'm the guy who researches belt, and you don't even know the official name for this belt, and you're trying to award it to me? Please, please. I told them, if you send me a Kohaku Obi, I will burn it, and I will make a YouTube video of me burning it. To prove the point that it's not about getting more rank. It's not about the fancy belts. It's not about titles. It's about living with integrity. You know? And then I turned 30 and no one wanted to promote me because I had told them all no. Whatever. So, like, oh, titles. That's where I was going with this. So we have Sabam Nim, usually used in Korean. You have Dojang Nim, usually used for like the head of a kwan or the head of a style, 9th degree black belts. So you have your masters, your grandmasters, whatever. And in Japanese, you have your shihans, which depends on association. Some styles awarded at 4th dan, some at 5th, some higher than that. You have your Renshi title, your Kyoshi title, and your Hanshi title, right? There are other Shihan titles, like I can't think of them right now, but there's 2 others. One for like a 10th dan, and one for like the absolute top guy in a style.
You mean like a soke?
No. Okay, no? So soke is another terrible one. We can talk about that one afterwards. But no, it's like Shuseki Shihan.
Oh.
Something like that. And it's like the translation's very similar to Grandmaster, but it's essentially the highest ranked individual in a lineage.
Okay.
All right. So you have Goju-Ryu, and you have all the Goju-Ryu schools, and you have one guy who's above them all. Right? And that used to be... Brain went blank. Can't think of it. Oh, well. Doesn't matter. So the thing with Renshi, Kyoshi, and Hanshi is they are what we in the United States call a written title. Okay? They're not verbal forms of address. So the easiest way to think of this is doctor. Your degree is a PhD. Your title, your verbal honorific is doctor. Right? So Renshi, Kyoshi, and Hanshi are like PhD. They're not like doctor.
We'd put it on your business card, but people aren't supposed to call you
that. Yes. If you write a book, put Renshi on it. Oh, yeah. If you write a magazine article, put Renshi on it. Yeah, that's cool. If you're doing seminars and you're advertising a seminar and you want to put Kyoshi up there, fantastic. Do it. But the moment you ask to be called Renshi, Kyoshi, and Hanshi, you are both ignorant and egotistical. Ignorant because you don't understand that these are written titles. So back to PhD and doctor.
I want to make something very clear, because you and I are on the same page.
Okay.
I'm going to carve out I'm not going to call it an exception, but I just want to make sure the audience understands my perspective here. Things can change.
Sure.
But if the justification of using those titles and having people call them is because that's what is done in Japan, that is a fallacy, and you need a different justification.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right. So, PhD and doctor. Mm-hmm. In Japan, the correct verbal honorific for a doctor is sensei. So if John Tanaka gets his PhD and he becomes a medical doctor, he is Tanaka Sensei. Okay. If he comes to the United States, he is Dr. Tanaka. Okay. Japanese honorifics and titles always come after the name in both English and Japanese. So the placement is the same. If you were to call me sensei, which please don't, it would be Matt Sensei, not Sensei Matt. And if you did it incorrectly, as the sensei, I would correct you. Because that's my job. My job is to pass on the cultural elements of karate as well as the physical elements of karate. So, and you never introduce yourself as sensei either, right? You never say, my name's Sensei Matt. No, bad. Bad dog, no biscuit, right? So in Japan, Dr. Tanaka is Tanaka Sensei. John Smith, Renshi Sixth Dan, verbally is Smith Sensei. Okay? So only someone who is ignorant of the cultural nuances would expect or ask to be called Renshi, Kyoshi, or Hanshi.
I think there's another case where someone would want that, and it's not ignorance.
Ego? Yeah. Yes. So they're either ignorant or they're egotistical. Now, if I'm supposed to expect my Kyoshi to be humble and knowledgeable, and they expect me to call them Kyoshi, they are neither humble nor knowledgeable. They are ignorant and egotistical.
The kind of third category exception. This is you're using the same terms, but you've decided to operate them under some different rules.
Yes.
That do not include, because that's what has
yes done. Correct. So the important part is, are we connecting it to the original culture? Right. If we claim we are, then we have to use these correctly.
Right.
If we say, no, this is just the American way, then that's fine. These are now American words. They're English words. They're no longer Japanese. So you would not tell people that this is a Japanese title. You would tell them this is your American karate title. So I was in the Shorinkan, and the Shorinkan in the United States uses a Renshi belt. Red, white, black on the back. In Japan, in Okinawa, the Shorinkan does not use a Renshi belt. This is an American tradition. And all these American Renshis who expect to be called Renshi are going to Okinawa to train, doing things wrong, and the Okinawans don't correct them because we have to save face. We don't want to embarrass this instructor by telling him he's wrong, ignorant, egotistical, etc. I would, because that's what I want someone to do for me. If I'm doing it wrong, please let me know. If I'm doing it different, you can go jump off a bridge. Because there is a difference between different and wrong. Okay? So, I hate belts. I hate titles. I hate legends. I hate myths. and
why do you hate them? I think it's
I
think I know the answer, but I want to hear from you.
I think the reason I hate them is because of the negative uses of them. There are pros and cons to the belt system. It's nice to be able to look at a yellow belt and go, okay, I know for a fact that you know Fukigata Ich, Fukigata Ni, Pinan Shodan. Cool. But if I'm running my own school, I already know that information without looking at your belt. So in my club, we have white belt and black belt for adults, and that's it. That's it for adults. And for children, the official youth system is white and brown. However, I allow myself the flexibility to use more belts. So if that child needs more motivation, if they need that tangible aspect, I have no problems with awarding a yellow belt, with awarding a blue belt, with awarding a purple belt. I have no problems with that, especially if they're special needs children. So I think so many instructors are inflexible, but my belt system is very flexible. I have 3 separate systems for youths: white and brown, white, green, and brown, white, yellow, green, blue, purple, and brown. Okay? And all of these are based on tradition. The original belt system was white and black and nothing else. That's what we do for adults. When the colored belts were brought to Japan, it was rejected. Jigoro Kano accepted white and brown for adults. He accepted white and purple for kids. And then they had women's belts, which had the white stripe through it. Oh. Right? So women's were not considered the same belt system as adults. Okay. Or, sorry, as adult men. Right? And I have no problems using the belts so long as they're only in a positive manner. So my system is based upon, yes, you can use more belts, but these are for special needs children. Now, if I tell your average child that, do they want to use the yellow belt? Probably not. Do they want to use a purple belt? Probably not. And this is all about motivation theory. How are you as the instructor motivating your students? If the only motivation you have is here's another belt, here's another belt, here's another belt, you're a bad instructor. And I don't mean you personally, Jeremy.
No, I've said the same thing.
Like, you should find ways to motivate your student outside of the belt system. You should have a personal connection with your student that exceeds objectifying them. You're just a yellow belt. You're just a green belt. You're just a blue belt. No, that's Samantha. Okay? Treat Samantha like Samantha. Treat Francis like Francis. Don't treat Samantha as if she's just a yellow belt. We're better than that. So all these instructors are objectifying their students. All right, white belts over here, yellow belts over there, green belts over here. How hard is it to say, okay, if you have a seventh cue, go over here. If you have a 6th cue, come over here. If you have a 5th cue, come over here.
Have versus are.
Exactly. You have the belt. You have the cue. You are not a belt. You are not a cue. Okay? You have a Renchi title. You are not a Renchi. You have a Hanshi title. You are not a Hanshi. Your name is not Hanshi John Doe. Okay? Your name is John Doe. Okay? You are not a Hanshi. You have a PhD. You are not a PhD. Do you get the difference?
I do.
Right. So this is part of where my dislike of belts come from. It's, in my opinion, objectifying, it's belittling, and it's divisive in a negative manner.
It's the what I'm hearing is that it's using the word divisive. It separates people. It's a boundary.
Right. So
What I'm hearing in your words, everything that you're finding fault with, it's the way some, maybe even some cases most, are using these things to divide, to separate, to create boundaries.
Yes.
Rather
And that goes
than
to the mainland Japanese mentality of kohai senpai. Right? So there's a lot of schools that, oh, if you're a brown belt, you're a senpai. Well, you can't assign senpai. That's like saying November 15th is tomorrow. No, tomorrow is tomorrow. My senpai is my senpai. It's based on personal relationship, right? Tomorrow is based upon what is today. Today's the 25th. Then we know that tomorrow's the 26th. If today's the 15th, we know tomorrow's the 17th or 16th. Numbers, right? So if you've been training for 6 months and someone else has been training for 8 months, they're your senpai, regardless of what belt they're wearing. You might be the same belt, but they came first, therefore they're senpai, right?
The title
so
is
when
about
I
the
was
relationship.
Yes,
rather.
It's relationship. It's a personal thing, right? And you don't call people kohai either. That's rude and disrespectful. It's demeaning, right? Even in Japan, the only time you call someone kohai is when you're reminding them of their place. Listen here, kohai, right? Otherwise, you call them san, kun, chan, right? This is Billy Kun. He's my kohai. He's my kohai. He's not a kohai. He's not kohai. He's my kohai. Okay? So when I go and I train, the guy who runs the dojo is a third dan. Okay? When I started in Shorin-ryu, I started over. I went back to the beginning. I didn't drag my rank along with me. I had the option to. When I joined the Shorinkan, they wanted to make me an honorary fourth dan. And I told them no. I did the thing you're supposed to do with integrity. Tell them no. No, thank you. I would like to start as a white belt. Well, Matt, you're more knowledgeable than a white belt. I think that might confuse some of the students. I'd really like it if, okay, I'll start as a Shodan Ho. I'm above the queue because I already know the information. I already have the ability, right? But I'm not officially ranked. So I don't want anything above that. I will start over. I will do my time. And then when I test, I'll become an official Shodan. Right? And that's what I did when in the Shorinkan. I eventually left the Shorinkan because they were trying to get me to commit suicide and all that bad negative stuff. And there's more terrible things in the Shorinkan that I could talk about in a moment, but I'm not going to right now. So I started over. When I joined, I'm currently part of the WMKA, the World Matsubayashi-ryu Karate-do Association, and I rejoined as a Shodan Ho. And I did my time. I tested for my official Shodan. I tested for my official Nidan. So back to this school. The guy who runs the school's a third dan. I don't call him sensei. He's not my sensei. My sensei is a sixth dan. It's his sensei. His sensei is my sensei. But to all the students at that school, that third dan is their sensei.
So what do you call him, or do you?
He's my senpai.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm a second dan. He's a third dan. We're both instructors. We could go the route of I call him sensei, he calls me sensei. I have no interest in that because I'm not his sensei. He's not my sensei. were more closer together than sensei and student.
I see.
Right? So if I was a brown belt and there was a first dan, that brown belt shouldn't call that first dan sensei because they're too close together. That first dan is senpai. To the second dan, that first dan is not senpai. It would be inappropriate to call him senpai. That's like assigning, November 15th is always tomorrow. Doesn't work like that. So soke. You want to talk about soke?
Let's talk about soke.
Okay. Soke is a legal title in Japan. There is paperwork involved. So let's say you want to get married. You have to go to the soke of your family and have them fill out the documentation. And then you take it to the town hall of your hometown and have it submitted. Okay? The soke is the legal head of a Japanese estate. It's the head of the family. It is not the head of a martial arts. It is not the founder of a martial art.
Then why do we keep using it like that?
Because Americans are dumb.
Okay, that's as good an explanation as any.
So there's some martial arts where, this person is the 37th soke of this style, blah, blah, blah. Only if they're the head of that estate. If it is a family style and they are the head of the estate, then they are the soke. Okay. But you don't call them, it's like Renshi Kyoshi Hanshi. You don't call them soke. You call them grandpa or uncle, oji-san, oji-san. Okay. So like I do Matsubayashi Ru. Shoshin Nagamine is the founder of Matsubayashi Ru. Right? His son, Takayoshi Nagamine, everyone called soke. Because there was the legal process where Shoshin Nagamine made Takayoshi Nagamine the head of the Nagamine family. So he became soke of that family. But then he made all of his martial arts students call him soke, which was considered extremely egotistical. Because, they're part of my family. No, they're not. They're your students. Or they're your student's student. They're not part of the Nagamine family. You did not adopt me into the Nagamine family. Thus, there is no reason I would call Takayoshi Nagamine soke. I call him sensei. And I know that irks a lot of Matsubayashi Ru people. Because, of course, he was the soke. He's dead now. There's a new soke in town. Right? I know who that is. The guys in Okinawa know who that is. Most of the Americans who do Matsubayashi Ru have no clue. He's a 4th dan right now. The official soke of the Nagamine family is a 4th dan. He's not the big honcho of the WMKA. He's the secretary. Eventually, he might become the head honcho. But not yet. This is Boots. She has that nice turtle color.
Yes, beautiful.
And she's trying to learn that she's not supposed to be on the table. So that's the thing with soke is it's not the founder of a style. There's other names for that. It's not the president of association. There's other names for that.
Okay. So we've spent some time talking about what you see as a problem and a lot of what you're saying we've actually done episodes on. Andrew and I just recorded an episode on some issues that I have with titles. We've done a separate episode on my issues with the titles of master and grandmaster. And I've speculated several times on the show that we have diluted rank to the point where something else is going to have to happen.
Yeah.
Because it's become all but meaningless in a lot of contexts.
So
I don't imagine that you have spent so much time looking at this from the problem side without also thinking about solutions.
Yes,
I want to hear those.
Okay. So solution number 1. prior to 1945, again, I'm a non-conforming traditionalist. Prior to 1945, the rank system in karate maxed out at 5th dan. Everything above that was a title. I have no problem going back to that system.
Okay.
And most people talk about this. Oh, the highest technical rank in a style is da 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 da.
Yeah.
5th dan.
So this is where what I've heard from multiple people, up through 5th rank is about your skill, 6th to whatever is about what you've done to spread your art and grow things and all
Yes,
that. Okay.
absolutely.
Okay.
So I would have no problems with the rank system maxing out at 5th dan and the titles only being used for instructors who promote the association or the style. I have no qualms with that. So long as they know I ain't going to call them Renchi and I ain't going to call them Hanchi, and they can suck a little meh if they think otherwise, right? So I have no problem with the titles if they're used correctly. Okay? It's the abuse of them that I don't like. So my school only has 6Q. That's it. Right? So most schools have 7, 8, 9, 10, 12, whatever. So part of my solution was to get rid of half the Q, to get rid of the belts, to focus it back onto training rather than what's around your waist. Okay. So one of my solutions was simply get rid of colored belts for adults. Get rid of rank stripes. I was required to wear rank stripes up to 4th degree black belt. And I removed my rank stripes in defiance of the politics and the rank jockeying. So if you and I are training together, we're both wearing black belts. I don't care what rank you are. You don't care what rank I am. We're just training. Okay. And a lot of Okinawans kind of did this with the title stripe system. You know, 1 stripe for Renshi, 2 stripe for Hanshi, or for Kyoshi, 3 stripes for Hanshi. And it's more subtle than walking around with a Kohaku Obi, right? It's more subtle than walking around with a red belt. There was a guy, he was teaching a seminar, and he's an old guy, and he has 2 stripes on his belt. And some 5th degree black belt with 5 stripes on his belt walks up and goes, well, you know, if you keep working hard and you're dedicated, you'll be a 5th dan like me someday. And the old guy he's talking to is a 7th degree black belt who's there to teach the seminar. Yeah. You know, so just removing stripes from belts helps remove the ego associated with rank.
I agree.
Removing title belts helps remove the ego associated with title belts. Educating people on the correct method to use titles helps remove the ego associated with them. And I think the last step, which is a far stretch, is if we could get global standards for rank, it would help. It's never going to happen. But if we could, it would help. Like, there's instructors in Okinawa who are awarding 10th dan to people in their 60s. And according to most rank systems, you can't get that rank until you're 70. Yet, if you look at Kendo in Japan, the Kendo Federation no longer awards 9th dan and 10th dan. They max out at 8th dan. So there's already a precedent for removing ranks from the system, and it's working. So I think if karate were to remove some ranks, it would alleviate the ego in a lot of people's hearts.
I can see that.
And the last thing is, of course, holding people accountable for egotistical practices. So when I was in the Shorinkan, there was a high rank who was cyberbullying people. and I'm an admin on a lot of these pages at the time, right? So I called his instructor to tell him, hey, you have a guy cyberbullying people online. He's creating fake accounts so that if they try to block him, he just goes around it with a fake account.
Mhm.
And I know that there's people like me who have suicidal depression. And that's a really, when you feel like you can't escape, there's one last escape.
Yeah.
And I'm talking to this Kyoshi and I'm pleading with him. And he hung up the phone on me because I wouldn't call him Kyoshi. He did not care that one of his top ranked students is pushing people to the brink of death because that title was more important than other people's lives.
I've said it before quite a few times, not so much on the show. If you have a student and they're a jerk, don't promote them. I don't care how physically qualified they are. Do not promote
Amen.
jerks, because all it does is it makes it worse as it goes on. I have never,
Yes.
I've seen people that were promoted. Well, you know, we don't want to, right? And in 0 cases have they gotten better.
Right.
They've
So
only gotten, if they've changed, it's only gotten worse.
we have some people in the WMKA who weren't allowed to test for like 8th Dan
Mm-hmm.
for similar reasons, ego and that kind of thing.
Sure.
So their solution was to leave the WMKA and then self-promote each other up the ranks. So I promote you to 8th Dan, then you promote me to 8th Dan, then I promote you to 9th Dan, and you promote me to 9th Dan, then I promote you to 10th Dan, and then wait a couple of years and you promote me to 10th Dan. When, 5th Dan is really where it stops. Everything else is just politics and BS.
You've said something a few times during our conversation that I want to highlight because I think it punctuates well here. Shut up and train.
Shut up and train.
We actually had a shirt for a while, and it was the front was just excuses for not training, and the big block letters on the front it just said "shut up and train," or maybe it was on the back.
So I started a Facebook page that was just "shut up and train," and the rule was no comments.
I love it.
Like, post a video, and that's it.
It's just
and no one would.
training.
No one would. So people would post videos, and then people would share them, talking about them behind their back, and it's like, oh, sorry, Andrew, my bad.
Okay. Sorry.
I told him I'd try not to cuss.
You've done pretty well.
Edit too much.
Pretty well. We're well over an hour in. That's your first one,
right? So yeah, like we say, I think there's a problem as well, though, with shut up and train, and that is discussions like this need to happen. So if I'm talking about the bad things and you just say shut up and train, that's code for I'm just going to ignore everything and try to train. That's the bad part of that. Okay. Sure. In the dojo, during class, yes, absolutely 100% shut up and train. Outside the dojo, on things like Facebook, which are discussion forums, shut up and train has no place. All right. You're not my instructor. One, shut up. You need to shut up so I can talk. It's my turn, But so there's bad stuff about that too. I think BJJ does a good job of on the mat, we're training, off the mat, we're discussing. And I think karate needs to get into that mindset too. Shut up and train only exists in the dojo on the mat.
I feel like shut up and train is the back half of a quote that doesn't yet exist, right?
Right.
Instead, because there are people who won't shut up because they don't train, right? All they do is talk, right?
Yes.
And I think something in there about, if the
talk less, train more, or something like that would be better. talk less, train more.
Yeah, I think that's probably
Something like that.
what
Yeah.
there's a time to talk, right? There are circumstances
Mm-hmm.
like you're talking about. Discussions need to be had, but the beginning and the end of what we do needs to live in training.
Right.
Otherwise, it falls apart.
Right. And these cultural elements, like I'm talking about, you can only pass those on through discussion.
Right.
You know, the Renchi who thinks he should be called Renchi probably needed more discussion.
And I'm also going to guess that person spends very little time actually training.
Right.
And so that's where, for me, shut up and train becomes
or
really
they got to the point where they're teaching but not training.
right.
Because that happens a lot too.
Yep.
You know,
It does. And
and
I've said before, because I work with a number of martial arts schools, and the thing I've said, I cannot help a school grow. I cannot help them do anything to grow until the person at the top loves training again.
yes,
If that person doesn't love training, I can't help them. It doesn't matter
and
what
I
marketing we
think
put in place. Doesn't matter any of it.
part of it is life gets in the way. You know, I have so I had several Shorin-ryu instructors.
Mm-hmm.
My first Shorin-ryu instructor shut down his dojo, moved to Florida with 1 month's notice. He told us on April 1st that April 29th was going to be his last day and he was leaving to Florida.
It's tough.
So if you're a student like that where you got quote unquote abandoned, who do you go to? Like, what do you do?
Sure.
What if the nearest guy in the same style is 3 states away?
Mm.
How do you deal with that? Nowadays, we have online training. We can do a Zoom discussion, whatever. But 20 years ago, we couldn't do that. So sometimes, and this is benefit of the doubt, those instructors just get stuck where they can't go and train with someone higher ranked than them. And I get that. But you should still be doing your own training outside of teaching. Teaching time is teaching time. You focus on the students. Training time is training time where you focus on yourself. If you're trying to train as you teach, you're no longer focusing on the students.
True.
Now, if you're just doing blank repetition and you're not necessarily focusing on correcting technique, then that's fine. Do a dozen kicks, do half a dozen kata with your students, because that's, again, part of that motivation for them. It's encouragement for the students to see the instructor get out there and sweat and realize he's just human. You know, he's not this deified grandmaster of all things martial arts and everything he says is the whole truth.
Right.
And no, he's just human, you know. So I think that's good too. But yeah, there's a time and a place for it, and it's hard for some people. Now there's other people where their instructor is still teaching in the same town and it's 10 miles away from your current dojo and you still don't go there to train. That's a problem.
Yeah, I can see that. Everybody needs an instructor.
Right. Everyone needs an instructor. And I think it's very easy in Okinawa for this to not happen because there's so many high ranks in Okinawa, and Okinawa is so small. But people don't realize, even Europeans don't realize how big the United States are. You know, Texas is bigger than Germany and France combined. The United States is bigger than Europe. So when you can jump on a train and go to the next country over in Europe, you can't really do that here in the States. Or Canada. Canada's huge too. It's bigger than the United States, you know. So yeah, I think that comes. Anyways, I wanted to talk about Kataro, our sponsor, because as you know, I'm a belt snob.
Yes.
And you guys designed a cool looking belt.
We did.
Feel free to. I don't want to take up too much time, like you telling me the story.
But I'll tell you the story because I don't know. I think we've only told it on the air like once.
Okay, then yeah, go ahead. Let's hear the story of this belt.
So, I have also had some issues around rank, and because I've been doing this show for 10 years, spend a lot of time talking to people about martial arts, and I end up, thinking and having great conversation, and came to realize, you know what? The best instructors have remained students.
Yes.
And as I hung out with more and more like really great martial artists, I realized none of them had any issue stepping out of the front of the room. In fact, they preferred to be in with the students because that's where they got to learn more.
Yes.
And I was like, oh, okay. So I started, kind of thinking about this dynamic between black and white and realizing, wait a second, there's almost like a yin yang thing going on here.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so when we started working with Kitaro, I said, what I'd really love is one of your double layered belts, but instead of it just wearing through to the same color on both sides, I want the black to wear through to white and the white to wear through to black. And they said, we don't know how to do that yet. So they
We'll figure it out.
They made a few iterations because I guess it was too thick early on. And they
Mm-hmm.
found a way to make that inner core thinner.
Right.
And so that's what that belt is about. And so Andrew really does this more than I do. When we go to events, if he's leading the session, he'll wear it black side out. But if he's attending someone else's session, he'll take it off, flip it around, and he's wearing white side out.
Right.
And so that's become really fun. And, I don't know how many of these belts Kitaro has sold. A number of people who hang out kind of in the whistlekick verse have them. And I think it's really fun because if you're going to wear that belt, you probably have a similar opinion of that philosophy.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So, my opinion, I think the belt is cool. It looks cool. However, I'm that non-conforming traditionalist.
Sure.
When I travel, I bring a white belt and I bring a black belt. I bring one of both.
Sure.
And I don't travel enough that I'm worried about space in my bag.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
I won't pretend that this belt exists because of space constraints.
Right. But we could make that argument if we had to. So when I saw it, this is how I met Andrew, I think, is I was teasing him about his belt, And I don't like the idea of belts fading to a core color because I've seen enough of the negative of these high ranks who, oh, I'm a master because I've gone full circle to white again.
Sure.
So belts with like the Kitaro and Aosin Panther and some of those other brands that have the edge is a different color, kind of looks like a faded belt, right?
Same. I
hate
could
that.
say it's a similar idea.
I don't like it.
Well,
I don't like it.
Can we agree that the intent is relevant here?
Yeah, I do. But I think it comes down to a little bit of humble bragging. Like, look at me, I'll wear a white belt. Like, everyone should be able to do that, like that should be a requirement, not a brag point.
I agree. And so again, it becomes intent. Like I've never walked around at one of these events and said, look, I'm wearing a white belt. I don't care what anybody thinks.
Right.
I don't wear a belt with stripes. I have them. They're in the closet. I've worn one of them once because that organization made me wear it at an event. Okay. Wasn't thrilled about it, but I get it.
Right. And like I said, I removed my stripes. So I had like a really nice faded belt and I retired it by fire. I burnt all my old belts. I had a ceremony. It was very peaceful out in the country, had a bonfire, enjoyed myself. And I burned all my old colored belts and I burned my original black belt. Wow. And I know there could be people that's so disrespectful and rude and blah.
Depends on why you did it.
Right? How do you retire a U.S. flag? You cut it apart and you burn it. Yep. So if you're telling me that I'm disrespectful for doing that with my black belt, I was a Boy Scout, you know. I know how to
Intent
retire a flag.
matters.
It's all about intent. So I have like 3 new custom belts that are so nice, blah blah blah. But I think the amount of pride people put into a fading belt is a negative aspect as well. They should be willing. People cling to belts like a child with a blankie. You know, it's tattered, it's tore up, it smells bad, it's stained. Your mom just wants to throw it away, but they still cling to it. And again, I think that's part of the lack of maturity in martial arts. A mature person should be able to say, okay, this belt's had its time. Mm-hmm. Let's set it aside and get a new one. Right? Or let's bring a white belt and a black belt to an event and just ask, yo, sensei, which belt would you like me to wear? Sure. 9 times out of 10, they're going to say, put on your black belt. Yep. But you're going to get that one instructor where you're not a black belt in my style. So sometimes the belt is nothing more than a name tag. Mm-hmm. It has your name. It has the style you train in. If you walk into another dojo that's a different style, they can see that you train in a different style. And that's fine. It's just a name tag. So expecting someone to put on a white belt proves that, one, the person who put on the belt is humble. They are humble. Mm-hmm. But 2, is the person that asked them to put on a white belt humble? If they expect to be called Hanchi, the answer is no.
Matt, we could probably have you on. I'm watching time because I do have another episode coming.
Yeah, we're close to an hour now.
I hate that we're going to have to do this, but we will probably have to have you back on at some point to go deeper on some of this. You've got more data on the facts and the figures around some of this historical stuff than certainly than most people, and probably than anybody I've met. So that's kind of fun, and maybe that's what you come back on to talk about. I don't know if you want to leave ways for people to get a hold of you.
I prefer not, just because, like I said, I've had so many death threats sent to me.
You know what? Totally fine.
You know?
Totally fine. If somebody wants to
and I hope that no one gets on and, you know, I can't believe you let this person on. He's so divisive. He's so negative.
You know what? Blah, blah, blah. The ones that I get that about are never the ones that I think I'm going to get that about.
Right.
It's there's one right now. There's this one particular person who took over this one particular organization, and it's an organization people have heard of. And we had somebody on, and this person, it was a great episode. And so this other guy keeps emailing me saying, you know, some stuff's going to come out about them, and you really should take down that episode. But they won't tell me anything else.
Oh, yes. So again, the Shorinkan. There's 3 instructors in the Shorinkan that are currently being investigated for molesting children.
Oh, lovely.
And again, I know names. I could drop names. People don't want me to drop names, but I could.
No, let's not drop names about investigation. If it's conviction, that's a different story.
Yes. One of them was convicted. Do you remember when there was a child molestation ring involving pizza parlors?
I remember that subject. Yeah.
Okay. The only instance of that in the state I live in involved a Shorinkan instructor. And the Kyoshi who demands to be called Kyoshi and hung up on me when I told him people were trying to get people to commit suicide testified in court on his behalf as, oh, he's just a great guy. I would have never expected this. Yada, yada, yada. Yet 3 of those Kyoshi's students, 1 was convicted, 2 are being investigated for child molestation. And I do not believe in coincidence.
No, that's a hard one.
Right.
All right. So if people really want to get a hold of you, they can do it through me, Jeremy at whistlekick.com.
Yes.
If you're just going to, send me emails pooping on Matt, I'm just going to delete those. Don't waste your time. But if there's actually good stuff worth,
like I love discussion.
Yeah,
like
we'll forward
if
that
there's
on.
great discussion points,
I don't
absolutely.
mind filtering that.
Right.
How do we end? How do we end?
Let's end it with my club's motto. Okay. So my club's motto is make good choices, maintain high standards. That's my encouragement to the martial arts community. Make good choices, maintain high standards.